We're looking for something we can fix up and then refinance our money out. And that's how we can supercharge returns for not only ourselves, but for other people. And that's what I've done all my life to get to where I am now at the age that I am. And yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just help other people do the same thing.
Hi, this is Garrett Sutton, and you're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
Welcome to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. Are you trying to get out of debt, invest, or just not sure where to start? Then this is the place for you. We discuss different ways to get out of the rat race and build your wealth. Join us on this wild ride to financial freedom.
Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Cavaggioni, and today's guest is Wyatt Simon. Wyatt, I am super excited to talk to you today. I know we tried this once before and we had some technical difficulties. The funny thing is, I was getting ready to interview somebody yesterday and I had the same thing happen to me on my side, technical difficulties, and we had to reschedule. So things like that happen, but I appreciate your patience and rescheduling with me and looking forward to having this conversation.
Hey, thanks for having me here, man. Life sometimes has curveballs that you just got to deal with. And I think that's how you tell people that can make it happen versus can't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, man. Way to start. Hey, so the first thing I'd like to ask you is the same question I ask everybody that comes on this show. And we want to know more about you. So if you could share a little bit about yourself, share your story. Who is Wyatt?
I'm a kid that grew up in Colorado and went off to middle of nowhere, Nebraska to play basketball. There, I learned nothing but drinking games, and then found myself working for a home buying company back in Colorado afterwards. And that was when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And from then on, the journey was, how do I create this financial freedom that they talk about in the Purple Bible? So from there, I took a job in Omaha where I met my girlfriend, now wife at the time, and started working a W-2, buying houses and using the BRRRR strategy. And after a certain point, I realized I was tired of buying on market and from wholesalers. So I joined a course and a mastermind and started setting up my own deal flow system. I ended up buying about 50 houses within the last 2 years and reached our financial freedom number. At that point, we quickly realized that this was something that was scalable, but only to a certain point. And that was when we pivoted into multifamily real estate. From there, now we are on our 6th multifamily deal that we're doing. We currently own 157 units, I guess 158 today, and it'll be 170 tomorrow. We're just continuing to scale the multifamily portfolio now and doing it all regionally here in Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, fantastic. So you're investing in your backyard, which is funny because a lot of people I talk to in the multifamily space invest way outside of where they live at, right? They're looking in all these different areas. It's pretty awesome that you were able to find a market that you can key into nearby, right? Close to where you live. So I want to kind of recap on a couple things, right? So you said when you're going to school, you were learning nothing but drinking games. It sounds a lot like, what it was like for me when I first joined the Navy. But then you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And I'm glad that you called it the Purple Bible, because I also call it the Purple Bible. It's one of those foundational books that everybody that wants to get involved in real estate investing or just building up their financial freedom in general, it's one of those foundational books that it's kind of like a must read. You need to read that book. That's awesome, man. Now you started in the single family space, right? And then you switched over to multifamily. What was it like? What was that point where you said, you know what, this isn't enough right now, or we're not scaling fast enough. We got to do something different. What was it like when you hit that switch, or what made you hit that switch?
Yeah, it's a great question. Truthfully, we bought a couple apartments last year while we were scaling the single family business. And then a light switched when we bought 2 apartment complexes that did just as much as the 25 houses that we bought last year. And it was like, I'm putting in a lot more work for these houses than I am for these apartment complexes, and I'm getting the same amount of return. And that was when we started scaling that business and really making that pivot, which I think a lot of investors do at some point.
Okay, awesome. Now, did you start that off as JVs and like you just had a few partners and you were taking them down by yourselves, or did you start off right away in syndications? We
started as JVs. Truthfully, I come from a property acquisition background. So we were putting together, our first 23 unit we did was seller financed in a JV model. So there was a few components to it, which we didn't have to put a lot of money down. And so I was able to negotiate us only having to put 10% down. And then I was able to partner with somebody who was able to do that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So you were able to get the other 90% seller financed?
Exactly. Yep.
Oh man, what a great way to get your first apartment deal done. So that's one of the things that would motivate you to keep pushing on that. Now, when you did that, when you closed on that first 23 unit, when you wanted to go get your next one, what did that look like? Because the first one sounds like it was one of those home run deals, right? Like one of those, hey, I was able to seller finance. I only put 10% down. We crushed this thing, cash flowing, feeling great. What did the next deal look like? Was it similar or was it a lot different? Because a lot of times you got that first one that pumps you up and motivates you, and then you run into something that might cause issues or problems, or it's a little more complicated. So what did that next deal look like?
Yeah, truthfully, the next one wasn't too complicated. We got it off market and it was a 9-unit. I partnered with the same partner, and him and I actually brought the same amount of money to the table on that one. And that one, we were actually able to BRRRR out and increase the value. And 15 months later, we refinanced all of our money that we put in out of that apartment complex and some, and we still own that one to this day.
Awesome. So when you refinance it and got your cash back, was it still like a really good positive cash flow?
No, it's still positively cash flows, yes, but it's almost break even. So the cash flow is negligible, but I am of the mindset that real estate has so many other aspects to it, with the tax benefits, with the equity gain that you get and the appreciation. So if I'm breaking even on a deal, if I can continue to recycle that money into higher return deals, then I'm very happy doing that.
Yeah, that's fair. Because when you look at it too, when you guys did that cash out refinance and got your money back and then some, like you said, the beautiful thing about that is that was tax-free, right? You got that cash back tax-free. And if it's breaking even at this point, hey, that's okay, because you got your money back out. And now you've got another asset that is pretty much just paying for itself, and it's just sitting there. So who knows what you could do with that in the future? You can keep fixing it up, making it nice, and do more value add and make it worth more and sell it in the future, or just hold on to it, let it turn into a little mini cash cow. Okay, awesome. So that was the next deal. Now, going from there, how did you scale up? So you got the 23 unit, you got the 9 unit. What was the next steps that got you to where you are today?
That's a great question. I'll give a little tip that I didn't know. The banker actually helped me out. When we bought this 9 unit, they were asking 575. We ended up getting it for 455 because we negotiated some stuff. Long story short, they had a horrible management. And so we took over that management problem. But when it appraised at 575. And so we instantly bought a building with a lot of equity in it. And the bank said, hey, you could use that equity instead of bringing a down payment to buy another building. And the ugly term is cross-collateralizing, right? The fun term is pledging equity. And so at the time, I was like, let's keep on growing, right? Let's keep on scaling. And so we were able to buy a 12-unit apartment, and we only had to bring $36,000 down because we were able to pledge the rest of the equity to that building, which then continued to allow us to scale and add more value. And that was the next steps for us on that front. And it went pretty well. We've refinanced that 9 unit, and we've added a lot of value to that 12 unit now as well. So both of them are 6 figures more in value. And then we're not refinancing because the interest rates we have are in the 4s, not the 6s.
Yeah. Going to keep that where it's at for now. That's smart, man. So now you've been doing this, for 6 years now? You've been in real estate?
Yep.
How many years were you in single family before you switched over?
I would say all of them, 6 years in single family. And truthfully, we partnered our home buying business with another home buying company. So now we just enjoy a royalty for all the systems that we set up. Okay,
fantastic. So the switch to multifamily was recent.
Yeah, we started buying multifamily early last year.
Okay, right on. So you did, how many deals did you do last year? Because you're still doing single families, right?
Yeah, so I think we did 28 deals last year, and 25 of those were single families. And then this year we've gone 24 this year already. And we've done 2 multifamilies this year.
Awesome. Have you gotten yourself to the point where you've reached financial independence? Are all your expenses covered from your investments?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. And I hit that earlier this year. So in February. And man, that felt good. And now it's like I work even harder. I don't know.
Well, congratulations.
The number is just a number, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you hit that number. You said you're working harder, but what is the financial freedom piece actually giving you the freedom to do?
In December last year, I walked away from my W-2, which was a fantastic feeling, but I wasn't financially free at the time. So it was a little scary. I had 68 units at that point. And then once we closed a $3.5 million deal earlier this year, that really put us at the number where we needed to be at. And now what we do is we love just being able to run the business from anywhere we are. For instance, we're heading to Austin on Thursday for a real estate blockchain summit conference. And just having the ability to travel it's a really awesome feeling. And that's how we met, actually, was we met at Vince Gething's Hawaii Mastermind Blueprint, which pulled my arm to come to Hawaii, man.
That's right. Yeah, that's good stuff. I remember we were talking poolside at the poolside bar. That's when we started talking. And yeah, man, I knew right then and there, I was like, I got to have this guy on the show. Absolutely out here crushing it. So now you only do, if I recall correctly from that conversation, you've only done JVs, right? Like you haven't done any syndications yet?
So that's correct. At that point, it was true. We're closing on a 12-unit JV tomorrow. And then in 4 weeks, we are closing on our first 506B syndication. It's a 36 unit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Congratulations. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
That's even since that conference, man, you've been making just such awesome progress, which it wasn't that long ago. I think the conference was what, 2.5, 3 months ago, something that we did it back in May, right? So it looks like you got back to Omaha and just started hitting it again and just crushing it. Well done, man. I'm glad I got to meet you at the conference, man. You and your wife. That was awesome. Okay, cool. Now, with everything that you've been doing, where do you see the future? Where's the future taking you? Are you going to continue down this multifamily route? Are you looking to get into something else? Are you looking to eventually walk away and retire? When do the wheels fall off?
Great question. Yeah. So what I love doing is helping people achieve the same freedom that I was able to achieve. And so that's why we're pivoting more into the syndication aspect. Right now, I love creating passive cash flow and the way that we do that is with value add real estate in the Midwest markets. We love Omaha and Lincoln because they're such great cash flow markets and they're pretty recession resistant compared to the West and East Coast right now. So we just want to help more people create that passive cash flow. I'll tell you, we are value add investors. So we're really not looking for just buy and hold assets. We're looking for something we can fix up and then refinance our money out. And that's how we can supercharge returns for not only ourselves, but for other people. And that's what I've done all my life to get to where I am now at the age that I am. And yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just help other people do the same thing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. That's a famous saying for a reason, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because a lot of times, especially in the real estate space, you'll get into a project and you're gonna say, okay, what can I do here? What can I do there? Sometimes it's best to leave certain things alone and focus on the real issues. Speaking of that, what are some of the things that you've seen as a real estate investor, both on the single family side and the multifamily side? What are some of the differences that you've seen between when you run into issues with single family rentals versus when you run into issues with multifamily rentals?
We run into issues a lot because we are vertically integrated with property management. I can tell you story after story about that. But to answer your question on multifamily versus single family, the issues that this could come from the conference, right? What Vince Gething said, you get paid based off the issues that you solve. And when you're solving issues in the multifamily game, usually there's a couple extra zeros at the end of it compared to the issues that you solve in the single family game.
Hey everyone, Mike with Average Joe Finances. The Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, aka RootCon, is on for 2023. It'll be May 4th through the 6th in Phoenix, Arizona at the Sheraton downtown. I'll be speaking again this year and I want to see you there. This year I'm doing 2 speaking events, one about growing your investor network through podcasting and the other is about investing while in the military. We have some great speakers lined up, so you don't want to miss this conference. Visit averagejoefinances.com/RubCon, REWBCON, or the link in the notes below and use promo code MIKE for discounted tickets. See you there. Are you a business owner that constantly struggles with your CRM system and keeping in touch with clients? Well, let me tell you about the CRM system that I personally use. It's called HiveMind CRM, and I'm telling you, it's been a fantastic addition to my tool belt as a real estate investor, as a business owner, and as a financial coach. Go check it out at averagejoefinances.com/CRM. You're gonna love it. Again, that's averagejoefinances.com/CRM. Let's get back to today's episode. Okay. No, that's a great point. It's all about that scalability piece. As a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with Vince, and one of the reasons he was telling me why he got into multifamily real estate is he said, look, if I have 20 houses and each one of them need to have their roof replaced, I'm replacing 20 roofs. Where if I have a 20-unit apartment building, if it needs the roof replaced, I'm replacing one roof. So think about how much money you're spending on those 20 houses versus how much you're spending on the one apartment building, right? And that's one of the reasons why I was like, oh, wow, light bulb moment. Okay, multifamily is one, you can scale quicker, you can get more units, you can cash flow higher. And then there's a lot more that goes into building the value of multifamily units versus a single family home. It's going to be based on the market around you and the neighborhood and how other homes appraise and what they sell for, and then what your home is going to appraise for. Where the multifamily units, it's based on how much you're renting these units out for. And as long as you're doing everything you need to do to fix the property up and raise rent back to the market rate, you have significant value that you can add to those assets. For me, that was like a huge selling point for sure. All right, man.
I couldn't agree more on that note. I don't know if you know who Logan Rankin is, but one of his quotes that I absolutely love is he was focused on buying properties. And when he made the switch to buying businesses, he took off. And so we're not buying properties anymore. We're buying businesses.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. It's awesome, man. Now, you had mentioned earlier that you have a property management business as well. It's vertically integrated into your real estate investing. So how does that work? Because that seems like it's a good way to, I guess, manage both businesses, but they speak to each other, right? They're incestuous. And I guess what's the right way to put it? No, I guess that's the best way to put it. They're just speaking to each other. They're vertically integrated. And yeah, I get that terrible word, incestuous. But so how does that work for you? By actually having your own property management company, people would hire that out, right? Or outsource that. So what's it like having your own that manages all of your portfolio?
It's challenging, but it's very rewarding. And truth be told, I never thought I would want to be in property management. Some days I definitely don't want to be, but we are able to provide so much value. And I'll get into this a little bit later. Last year, we fired 2 third-party management companies that just weren't getting it done. Because in real estate, I fully believe there's only 3 ways that you either win or lose. You buy it right, you finance it right, and you manage it. And we were buying and financing properties right. I can tell you that. But the management component is so huge and crucial. And so now we have full control A to Z in what we do. And it's nice knowing that we're responsible, not someone who makes a call and doesn't follow through.
Yeah, I would hope that if you call the property management company because there's an issue, that it's going to get taken care of because it's your own company. But that's the other part of it too, is now if there's an issue, you're calling yourself. It's like, hey, we got to get this squared away. We got to get this fixed. And I could see where that could be a little more tedious with the issues that come up. But at the same time, now you have full positive control of that. And you probably, and I'm just going to ask you, but you probably already have this, but for your property management company, have you hired other people to actually run that for you, to get it from yourself a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Truth be told, we're getting to a point where I can almost step out fully in property management, which I'm really grateful for. Our team currently has 6. We're actually onboarding a Lincoln operations manager tomorrow because we have 100 units in Lincoln and 100 units in Omaha, which is about 60 miles apart. And so now we're growing regionally. And it's nice to finally have boots on the ground in Lincoln rather than our team going back. And on top of that, there's 2 ways that we can add a lot of value. Number 1 is the property management, but number 2 is the construction piece. And so we do have 4 guys that work for us full time. And all they do is our construction, our rehab, our unit turns. And then we outsource the higher level subcontractor work, such as electrical, plumbing, stuff like that.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So that's another piece that you have built in native to your companies. That's definitely going to be more cost effective and save you in the long run. But the whole thing about standing up that spot out in Lincoln, that's going to be huge, because if you think about it, you said it's 60 miles away, right? So if you think about just the commute that your team's having to make over there and time that gets eaten by that, a lot of times that time is, time costs a lot of money, right? So that time is worth a lot. 60 miles, that's an hour, right? So that's 2 hours a day that somebody would lose just going out to the Lincoln properties just to make that
gas
commute.
ain't cheap.
And gas ain't cheap, that's for sure. So that's why you guys the next step is to get your EV station set up, right? And get your fleet of property management Teslas, and then you'll all be set.
Amen, man. Yeah. And I will say we run
solar panels.
Everything based off traction.
Awesome.
R&D.
So you're running off of EOS.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. I got to stop slacking. I got to finish reading that book. But so far, it's made me realize that it's okay to outsource certain things, and that I need to do more of that and focus more on the things that I'm good at, and give some of the things that I'm not so good at to people that are better at that. So that's one of the things I appreciate about that. Awesome, man. Okay, I'd like to transition this into something that I call the final round. It's where I'm going to ask you some kind of hard-hitting questions, and it's going to give us an idea of how Wyatt is under pressure, especially when he's got to deal with some of these crazy situations that he deals with in real estate investing. So if you're ready to go, we'll get this party started.
Let's make it happen.
All right, let's make it happen. Wyatt, the first question I have for you is, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in real estate investing?
So the biggest mistake that I ever made was my third house that I ever did. And I bought it for, I think it was $40,000. It was a cheap house, little 2-bedroom shack, basically. And I bought it in Bellevue, which is a suburb of Omaha. Did not know that Bellevue's city is much more strict than Omaha. And so when we were doing the work, I went in there, I was doing all the work at the time after work. I was like, I'm just going to go in there, do the house, we'll be fine. Well, I got shut down by the city, and our rehab budget went from $25K to $65K because we had to redo a lot of it.
Oh, wow.
So that project was back when I was 23 years old. So I did not have many contacts, and it took me 11 months to rehab that house. So the holding cost ballooned up, and it was just a big learning experience to know, okay, what subcontractors I need to know, what general contractors I need to have, and to make sure that I'm good with the city and not red tagged. But thankfully that house did end up turning up. The market kept going up at the time, which was great, but I did buy it right. And so even after everything, it appraised at 125. And I was able to BRRRR out all my money.
That's awesome. The only thing is it worked out because, like, a lot of times you hear people say that the cash is made or the profit is made when you close the deal, not when you're doing your rehab and all that other stuff, right? So the fact that you found a good deal in the first place, that you were able to afford this $40,000 extra hiccup that you ran into, right? Because you're talking about, you went from a $25K rehab budget to $65K, and that's significant, man. And you were still able to come out on top. That is kudos to you, man. You found a really great deal that you were able to make that mistake and recover from it. So that's awesome. So the next question, Wyatt, I want to ask you ties into this, but it's, what is something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you first started?
I wish I would have known about scalability a little bit faster. And I wish I would have known about coaching a little faster, because everything changed as soon as I got involved with coaching. It's crazy the amount of reduction of risk that you can have and the increase of speed that good coaching can bring you. And I know you're a coach as well. And I'm a firm believer in coaching. And we were just talking about this before then. You have a coach and you coach.
Yeah, I was late to our interview and I had to apologize to Wyatt because I was actually on a Zoom call with my coach getting yelled at about having to do some more, reach out and get some more leads for the stuff I'm working on. Apparently I'm not doing enough, and that's okay. I need that accountability. And I think everybody needs that accountability, right? That's why I'm a firm believer in that. And I practice what I preach, right? Yeah, Wyatt, that's awesome, man. The fact that you realize this, and I know you said you wish you would have learned that earlier on. I feel like you still realized it pretty early on and figured out what you needed to keep pushing, right? So you got the coach, you go to conferences, you go to masterminds, right? You embed yourself in all of those things to only make yourself better. And I think that's the piece that people need to really understand. Like when somebody goes out and they get into a program like that, they are trying to make themselves better. So don't knock them for that. Now, don't go to one of those things where it's like, hey, yeah, come on out. And then at the back of the room, sign away $40,000 or bust out your credit card, or here, we'll help you get a credit card. Yeah, you might want to stay away from those. But there are some really legit programs out there. They're pricey, but man, they will really take you to the next level. So I appreciate you saying that. And I don't have any of those programs, guys. So I'm not saying that because anything like that, but I'm saying it because it does work. And actually, Wyatt, I want to ask you something offset from the final round really quick, because we're talking about all the stuff that you've been able to do, but I want my listeners to know, how old are you?
I'm 27 years old.
27 years old, and you reached financial independence this past February. It's freaking fantastic. And you did that through real estate. So that's awesome. Just want to make sure we got that out there. So the third question of the final round, sorry, I went off on a little tangent there, but the third question is, do you have any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone that is just getting started today?
I think education is huge. So when I was starting out, I listened to Bigger Pockets podcast day in and day out. And then I repeated it while I was working on properties and just continually learning on my drives in the gym. Instead of listening to music, listening to podcasts, filling up your head with people that have been there, just like this podcast, right? Listen to people that are maybe ahead of where you want to be so that you can pick up the nuggets to get you where they want to go. And that is how you'll get ahead in life for free. And then if you want to supercharge it, join some coaching.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Great tips, great tricks. Podcasts, I think, are one of the things that were like a catalyst for me to really step up my game. Of course, before I hired a coach, but it was the podcast that I would listen to and just listening to other people. Bigger Pockets was a big one. Absolutely love that podcast. It's one of the things I would listen to on my commute to work and sometimes in the gym, but sometimes when I'm in the gym, I need some really motivating music. So I'll bust out some Chevelle and stuff and it gets me pumped up. But podcasts, man, I'm telling you, when you're on a commute to work, it makes you rethink that commute to work. It's, man, I don't like driving to work. This really sucks. I want to get out of this 9 to 5. And then you listen to these podcasts where people are talking about how they did that through real estate investing or through other means, right? Through other ways of building financial freedom. But you listen to that, and it's just something that it ignites that spark and that fire. Or if you've already have that spark and that fire, it's putting more fuel to it, right? So definitely listen to stuff, listen to content that's going to help keep going and get better at your craft. So I love that, man. I call myself a content sponge. Podcast, YouTube, I'm on all that stuff. Anything that's going to help me get better. All right. Speaking of, the final question of the final round, Wyatt, is, do you have a favorite business, investing, or real estate related book or podcast or both?
I would say, besides the Bible, the best book out there is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I read that once a year. I see you looking for it in the back there. Yep. Holding it up right now. But man, that book is phenomenal. And I was really grateful I was able to discover that at a young age. And so one of the exercises is begin with the end in mind. And, you're going to your own funeral. What's that going to look like? What kind of life do you want to design? What do you want people to say about you? And just think through that and design a life that is going to produce what you want that to be.
Yeah, Wyatt, that is phenomenal. That is a great recommendation. And what about a podcast? I know you mentioned Bigger Pockets. What are any other ones?
Yeah, besides this one, of course.
Thank you.
We got Bigger Pockets is where I started. And then once I started getting to multifamily, I started listening to Jake and Gino. So really enjoy Jake and Gino if you're looking to do more multifamily things. And those are really my 2 big ones. And then just always listening to Audible.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, what did you think about the conference, having Gino there to speak?
Oh, that was fantastic, man. Every time cool, Gino speaks, yeah, he's so good. He's the epitome of a guy that's taken action at a young age all the way through to where he is now. And just what he's built is pretty incredible. Yeah. I
just like him because he's from New York, like me. A New York Italian kid who's in the restaurant and doing his thing before he got into real estate. I just thought it was awesome, man. He's got a great story. Anyway, and they also have a great podcast, so go listen to his podcast as well. Wyatt, this has been absolutely awesome, man. That's it for the final round. However, I do have one more question for you. And this is the most important question of all, because there's people sitting here listening to this show and they're like, man, we heard some of the stuff that Wyatt was working on, the things that he's done, and he's only 27 years old and reached this financial independence number. That's absolutely amazing. So we want to know where we could find more information about him. So if you could, Wyatt, please share with us. Do you have a website, anywhere on social media we could follow you, anything like that you could share with the listeners today?
Yeah, I put out a lot of content on Facebook. So feel free to head over on Facebook and add me, Wyatt Simon. I don't know. I think I'm the only Wyatt Simon on Facebook. So I'm the first one that pops up at least. Okay. I do have a website. So if you're looking to talk more about business and what we're doing, www.f as in full, C as in circle, equitypartners.com. So www.fcequitypartners.com. And then on Instagram, I'm at Wyatt Buys Houses.
Awesome. That's pretty easy to remember. However, I will make sure I have all those links in the show notes to make it easier for all of you guys to either click and copy and paste away, but don't do it while you're driving, okay? Wyatt, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Really grateful that I got the chance to meet you at the conference and actually sit down and have this conversation today. Even after the technical difficulties of last time, this was great, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on and thanks for your patience, man. We made it happen.
Yeah, we made it happen, man. Awesome. Hey, and to my listeners, thank you so much for joining me and our special guest, Wyatt Simon, on the Average Joe Finances podcast. Go leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked about today's episode with Wyatt. Aloha from Hawaii and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.
Thanks for listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast, your source for beating debt, saving money, and investing. Learn more at averagejoefinances.com.